All right. Moving on to item 3, approval of minutes of the November 9th regular meeting.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor to approve the minutes of the November 9th meeting, say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right. Item 4, public requests. Ms. Hamilton, were there any emailed in for public comment? All right. Moving on to item 5, informational items. Is this something you're going to fill us in on, or will they? Perfect. So it is the Excel Sagamore Wind Farm update with Mr. Essex and Mr. Hudson.
We'll see how well this works.
Hello, this is Brian.
Brian, hi, this is Amber. I have you on speakerphone, and we're here in the commission meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
Perfect. I've got David Essex on the other line. I'm going to merge him in real quick.
Perfect.
Hey, David, did you make it over? Yes. Perfect. Amber has us on speakerphone at the commissioners meeting. All right. Hey, Amber.
Hey, sorry.
No worries. You guys able to hear us okay?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. Let us know if you're ready for us.
We're ready.
Okay. It's amazing when technology comes together like you planned it. That doesn't happen very often anymore, but I appreciate you guys letting us come, and I guess you call this talk to you remotely. I know it's difficult in these times to make all this go so smooth, but appreciate the invite to let David and I come and give you guys a update on the Sagamore Wind Project. It definitely doesn't feel like it was that long ago. I think it was only 14 or 15 months ago that we came and presented originally at one of these commissioners meetings. So appreciate you guys letting us come back, and man, a lot has changed since then, both for the good and the bad, as we're all aware of COVID and everything. But Sagamore, we've been able to get through, I wouldn't say unscathed. We've definitely had a ton of challenges to get through, but we're still able to hold our budget and our schedule amidst the pandemic. So David and I were just talking, and it was 50 weeks ago. It was the middle of December of 2019 when we poured our first turbine foundation. Since then, to get us to today, we've poured all 240 foundations. That's about 100,000 yards of concrete, which is about 10,000 concrete truckloads that we placed. We've delivered all 1,920 turbine components to the site from Hobbs. So we're off the roads there. We've installed just over 6 million feet of cable in the ground since then, and we've erected all 240 turbines. We've also built our 2 substations and our 14-mile transmission line. So just in the last 3 weeks, we've topped out, finished erecting all of our turbines, and we've energized all of the turbines. So both of our substations are energized, our full transmission line is energized, and there's power to every one of the turbines. Once we're able to get power to the turbines, our technicians can go in, do all the final checks, button everything up, and actually start running the turbines for the first time. So as of this morning, we have 209 of our 240 turbines commissioned. So there's 209 turbines out there that are either spinning or are able to be spun and actually generate. Today, I'm looking at it on my screen here. It looks like it's plenty windy down there. We're 200 megawatts right now, so just under half of what the farm can produce is what we're producing right now. Here in the next 2 weeks, we'll have all the turbines commissioned, and we are on track to begin commercial operations, which is our huge milestone, by December 31st. And that was our original pre-COVID schedule from day one. So Wanzik has done a fantastic job for us building the farm. They did it very safely. Some of the best safety statistics we've seen on any of our projects. We definitely didn't get by unscathed, which is always the goal. But we were able to minimize the incidents and avoid the big incidents that we always hate to talk about. So Wanzik has greatly reduced their workforce. We're down to about 20 to 25 lawn folks on site right now. It's really just their civil and seeding crews out there cleaning everything up, dressing everything up, taking out the temporary turns, decompacting everything, and starting to reseed the project. And then Vestas, our turbine supplier, they are all of the technicians that are out there commissioning the turbines. They still have a pretty big workforce out there, just under 100 folks right now to get all the turbines commissioned. But by the end of this year, they will greatly reduce their manpower, and really all that will be left are the 30 to 40 operations folks that we'll have on site full time going forward once we begin commercial operations. So I know that was a lot, and I crammed a lot in there, but I'll stop there and see if there's any questions.
No questions so far.
Okay. David, is there anything you'd like to add or that I may have breezed over?
No, it sounds pretty good. Just appreciate you guys. I know the county's been wonderful to work with, and Brian knows more of that than I do, but thanks for letting us come and speak to you, or let Brian speak to you.
Well, all the commissioners are smiling behind their masks, so I will speak. So we greatly appreciate the update. Obviously, y'all have done an amazing job of putting up such a, I just can't imagine what y'all faced. It's just enormous, the challenges, and for you to stay on target and to still hit your deadline of December 31st for the commercial delivery is just phenomenal. It has been a pleasure to work with all of your team as well, from the county's aspect, but I know the commissioners, like I say, are all here and present and smiling, so they're enjoying the update, but it's wonderful to hear and to have the 240 turbines erected. We had heard about that a couple weeks ago. And so it's just kudos to your team for pulling off this. It was such an enormous project.
Yeah, appreciate those words, Amber. And it's been nothing but a pleasure getting to work with you and your staff and the commissioners as well. It's a testament to what the folks in New Mexico and Excel's Texas and New Mexico region, we pride ourselves on giving you our word, proving to you that we can stick to it. And I think all of us involved in the project have done just that on both sides. We do have a virtual celebration and news conference scheduled for a couple of weeks. Amber will get you that invite over, and feel free to distribute that as you would see fit. We usually like to get everybody together and have a celebration on site, but unfortunately we're not going to be able to do that right now, but hopefully we can at some point in the future.
Yes, sir. That sounds spectacular. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you all, and thanks again for inviting us and letting us come and speak.
Thank you guys for joining us and giving us that update.
Okay. Thank y'all.
Thanks, Amber.
Bye.
All right. We will move on to agenda item 6, elected officials, department heads reports. Mr. Lovato.
It's on now. Okay. And maybe I need to talk a little softer now. So the 4650 took some damage. Somebody had gotten inside of the tractor and it looked like they shot the window from the inside out on the windshield. We did call the sheriff's office. Lieutenant Sanchez sent a deputy out. They did a report, and he's going to start sending his guys out there and driving out there at night and through the weekend. I don't know if we'll ever catch anybody out there, but at least he's willing to send some guys out there. Also in Steve's project, they grabbed all the signs, which Steve's project is just a couple of miles from where Juan's at. And they grabbed all the signs and hauled them off and threw them over fences and put them in pastures. We had to go gather up all our signs, sign stands, and Monday morning was quite the task. I mean, we had to go through all the equipment, check the oil, make sure nobody poured anything in our diesel tanks. The cat blades are locked up to where you can't get to nothing. But the John Deere, you know how you can get to those tractors, and that's what they got to. But they did not only, but they did just get the windshield on that one. We've been doing routine maintenance, blading, cleaning cattle guards. As of last week, we did some fixing potholes, but next couple of weeks looks like it's going to be super cold, so we won't be fixing any potholes. Coal mix tends to get really stiff, and we can't move it too well. So I stand for any questions. South Roosevelt Road L, just south of New Mexico 114.
That better? I'm not as loud as y'all. It's just south of 114 on L.
On L, yes, sir.
So that's Rogers, Zale.
More Dora, between Dora and, I guess south of Rogers.
South of Rogers on L.
On L, yes.
By Patrick Kircher's house. Is that?
More like Wayne Tivis's, further down.
Oh, yeah, south. I'm looking north, ain't I?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'll ask some residents down there if they've seen anybody
Please do.
different.
We did get the windshield in. We made a phone call yesterday, and windshield's in. All glass is coming in tomorrow to put it in. But I had to take a guy, get it moved in, so all the rubber gaskets are nice and soft. Because as cold as it is, it's going to be really difficult to do it out there on the job site. So now you're taking time and money and getting all your equipment back in just to get that glass put back in. So it's pretty frustrating. But I stand for any questions.
All right. Thank you, Ricky.
Thank you.
Moving on, Ms. Hamilton.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, Commissioner. So, quite a bit of updates, so I'm going to try to work through them and answer any questions. So as far as capital outlay goes, we continue to wrap that up. We do have the road project, $383,000 complete. We are working on completing the kitchen and laundry renovation. And of course, we have the blades completed and everything. So our goal is to have the majority of those completed or as close to complete as possible, so that when we do have session updates and are speaking with our legislators, they see that we are moving our money as quickly as possible. We are also working on FY21 allocations. We actually have bids for the HVAC replacements at the courthouse for the third floor, as well as the Enterprise Center. So those will be installed, scheduled to be installed by mid-January, weather permitting. So we're trying to coordinate that with the roof replacement project. We also are working to release a bid for La Casa, as I advised last week. During the audit, this has been kind of a B priority, so we will be revisiting that one again. We also have the road barn, which they confirmed and we'll be selling bonds on those. So we anticipate receiving a contract within the next 30 to 60 days from the state. And then once we have the contract, then we can move forward with releasing that bid for the new road barn construction. We do have about 60,000 left for the small business grant, and y'all will see that later on the agenda to ratify those. We had a large award that we have put out right before Thanksgiving to the state for their approval. We're still waiting on that one, but we have enough, which will be approximately about 6 grants, maybe a little bit more or less, just depending on how people are awarded. We have several in queue, and so we're still taking those applications, but we are down to the last of it. So we're very excited because, again, we are to have that money expended by the 31st of December, and we're on target for that. We do have the security door for the sheriff's office installed to keep them secure from the detention center in that hallway. So that one has been installed. We are going to finalize the last 2 vendors as far as connecting it to the fire suppression system and electrical system. So that is in the works as well. We are meeting a group of the county managers and city managers have had a couple of discussions about the need for a regional mental health facility and what that could look like. There are things that we're trying to explore on that, and you'll recall this has been a discussion ongoing for many years. But very likely that will come back before the commission. We're looking at a cost share of what that could look like for a feasibility study and how we could apportion that to each county and city so that we can look at a regional area. We are looking at Curry, Roosevelt, Quay, and Dabaca, which again, we started these conversations years ago. And so we're excited to see kind of that continuing to work forward. United Way and Aaron Birch has been a big push for that and has had some great committee work and everything. So we're working on that. And I wanted y'all to be aware so that if we do get some things put together for feasibility, y'all will be expecting that budget adjustment for that. I've been working with Administrator Porter. We've been approached to apply for a MAT program funding, which is an addiction treatment program within the detention center. And it would be a new program that we would be able to facilitate. They have federal dollars through the state, and they're looking for us. So we have sent some initial draft proposal type stuff of what we could be looking at and what might work for our facility. And we submitted that, of course, before the holidays. So we're going to wait and hear back from them. But we're excited to be exploring that. We did have our exit conference yesterday. So our fiscal year 21 audit is complete and will be submitted to the state today. We are anticipating that there will be delays in approvals potentially. So it might be after the first of the year. And once that's made public, then we, of course, will be discussing that in public and have the final presentation and everything before the commission at that point. So again, thank you to Commissioner Dixon and Commissioner Lee for serving on the entrance and exit committee. We're working on our insurance repairs as well. The courthouse roof is approximately 50% complete. I'm sure y'all have seen the crane there and the lift, and they've had the boom there, really helped us out with some other things, and are working through. This week it's too cold, so the weather has put a damper on that. They're also working on the detention center roof repair, and they have completed the road barn, so we're well underway. As far as roads go, or vehicles go, we've completed 10 of the vehicles for roads. We really just have one outstanding at this point, and that's the enclosed trailer. We have completed work on 3 of the 6 vehicles at the detention center. We've completed a repair on the La Casa van and on the planning vehicle, as well as the 2 assessor vehicles. We have just completed a couple of the sheriff's office, and so we're really working with the sheriff's office to get them in and get them quoted for repairs so that we can get that process continually moving. And I have some of the latest statistics for unemployment. So as of October, New Mexico's unemployment was at 8.1%. That is up from 4.8% 1 year ago at this time in October. National unemployment rate is 6.9%, so you can see that New Mexico is above the national average. As far as we're looking in local government, we have seen approximately a 6.6% decline in the state of New Mexico in those numbers, and currently Roosevelt County is looking at a 6.1%. So as we look at those, you can see we're below the state level. We are elevated from where we were at this time last year. Just 6 states, California, Hawaii, Louisiana, Nevada, New Jersey, and New York, and of course, Washington, D.C. post higher unemployment rates than New Mexico as of November. So it's very, very real how we're feeling that here, especially in our tourism and hospitality industries, and especially in our mining and in the oil industry specifically. We discussed those numbers in detail a couple meetings ago, so I just want to keep those regular updates coming to you so that you know where we're looking at as far as our job markets go. When we look at GRT performance and we look at property taxes and our revenues and in comparisons from prior years. So as far as property taxes go, it's on average for our current collection based on prior fiscal years. Prior fiscal years are anywhere at the end of November of anywhere from 37.82% to 30%, and this year we're at 35, so it's right in the middle. Which means that we are at a point where we can look at releasing some of the frozen positions to fill. So had that discussion with Mr. Lovato. They've got 2 openings. We're going to look at opening 1 at this point and moving forward as deemed necessary with the projects that they're facing and the road work that they're going to do. GRT collection, we have seen an increase in, and it's of course thanks to the great construction projects that are going on. We know, as we've heard, that is going to be wrapping up in December, and so we anticipate those returning to much more of the normal levels at that point or below, as many other counties throughout the state and cities have seen those declines due to the economic constraints that we're all facing right now. And the only other thing is, I know Commissioner Lopez had mentioned wanting to have some kind of COVID update as to what was going on with current, and I know we had another briefing as of yesterday. So the governor announced a new, or her latest program. She had released it on Friday, and I'd shared it with y'all via email, but it's the red to green. Currently, as of the last 2-week period, Roosevelt County has cases on average of 100.5 per 100,000. And again, y'all remember that they use a math formula to actually increase our population and put us to that level of 100,000 so that they can compare us with other entities. We also have a positivity rate of 19.10% at this point. During our press conference yesterday, it was highlighted that there's an estimated 18 to 20 weeks before these counties such as ours are able to hit green, and if they had any concerns over the thought of it being May and June next year before we see any of this, and if they were willing to have any flexibility. In my opinion, that question went largely unanswered, unfortunately, so I think there's a lot of unknowns as to exactly how long we're going to be looking at this. They did highlight that based on the statistics that they are continually studying, that the daily deaths are expected to average anywhere from 15 to 48 over the next 2 weeks due to the increase in spikes. They presented a wealth of other information, and they also released the new or the revised public health order. But those are just the highlights. I would be happy to stand for any questions.
Have any questions? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do any commissioners have anything they need to discuss? All right. I think we are good. We'll move on to agenda item 7, old business. Item A, discussion regarding Sheriff's Office organizational chart and frozen position. I think we'll start. Ms. Hamilton, do you have any updated numbers for us for any frozen position? Because I know we have several frozen at the moment, not just at the Sheriff's Office, and what the numbers look like.
Correct. So as we had highlighted, the property tax collection is on target and as average at this point of what we've been looking at in prior fiscal years. And we do have 2 positions frozen at road. We're looking to release one of those to begin with. We have 2 positions frozen at the detention center that we will leave frozen at this point and decide to open up when Mr. Porter feels like that's appropriate. Mr. Porter's comment was that is one of the ways that my department can help this county through this very difficult time. So they're working really well. He has a fantastic team. But of course, in the event when we need to, we will be releasing those. We're watching overtime very closely on those. And then we also have the position for transport officer. And that should take care of all of that open positions. Those are the 5.
In your recommendation, I mean, are we at a point where all of them can be unfrozen? I know you said Mr. Porter is going to hold off on one anyway, but with the other ones, are we in a position that we can unfreeze them all, or are you still more comfortable keeping them frozen for another? Well, I guess there was the deadline for collection is really December 10th or something. So
November 10th, right? And now we're looking at the late. So based on the current collections, we're comfortable opening those. As we discussed with Mr. Lovato, we did increase his staff when we were looking to get back to that point of prior to the layoffs that we had and the position dissolved after 2015 fiscal year when we made some budget adjustments. But right now, they do not have the projects necessary to demand more than one at this point in our initial discussions. And so that's, it's very much a conversation with our department heads when they're able and willing to have that conversation. We're able to have that dialogue and really talk through the process of what we're looking at and what they're needing, because it's all about those needs. So at this point, we don't necessarily have to freeze. The numbers don't change much from what I provided with y'all the prior packet when y'all asked for all of the information on transport figures, the delays in transports from the detention center and what they're looking at and those cost projections. Any of those type things have not changed at this point. And so all of those would stay.
okay.
This was just an item of unfinished business and was mentioned at the last meeting.
Okay. Does anyone else have any other discussion on what? Because as Ms. Hamilton mentioned, it was just kind of an unfinished item that we were going to move on and look at the income coming in and then see what we felt like we should do in this meeting. Yes, go ahead.
Also spoke at the last meeting. We were talking about this position. We also threw around where this position needed to be and where we needed to put our transport officers. Did anybody think on that? Think what they thought about that?
I did, and I do understand the need for some transport officers within the sheriff's department because they are statutorily required for certain transports, but not all transports, and detention can make other transports, and so I do see a need to have transport officers in both locations, but I don't know, we might be better suited moving one transport officer to detention and leaving 2 of them with the sheriff's office.
What does anybody else think about that? We're talking about moving one of the transport officers from the sheriff's department to the detention. What's your feeling?
I definitely think we need detention.
Commissioner, will you hit your microphone? We push that button. It's hard for them to hear us on. There we go.
I said, I feel like the detention center needs a transport officer some point in time.
Mr. Knudsen, do you know any specifics on the statutory requirements of the sheriff's office being responsible for any sort of transport?
I don't, and I'm sorry, I didn't research that issue, but I can certainly look at that and give you an opinion, but I'm not off the top of my head, and I don't want to just say something off the cuff.
Sure.
So,
Okay.
thank you.
Yes, go ahead.
In my opinion, I truly need that, the need is there, and we saw the cost effectiveness when we saw the numbers of what we're losing or having to pay out by not having a consistent transport officer. But there was also another point that was made, and I truly am going to agree with this, that anytime we have any type of transport, we should have someone that can legally carry a firearm, just because of the danger that it poses. So with that, that would lead me to believe that I would like to see for it to go through the sheriff's office, if that's what the rest of the sheriff's departments are doing, that have detention centers in their counties.
You remember on the email that we were sent, well, I guess it was just in the last packet, and it was requested by commissioners that really across the state, a large majority of them are actually transported through the detention center and not through the sheriff's office. So I don't think, county by county, I don't think, we're definitely in the minority the way it is right now. I'm looking at that chart from the other counties.
Well, but they don't carry a gun through the detention center, correct? They don't carry a firearm.
Ms. Hamilton, do you know any?
Oh, yeah, I know plenty. So on that issue, no, we do not. And we do not wish, that is not something that Mr. Porter would want. We have been conducting transports. As y'all recall, I've done several transports, never been armed, never had an issue. It's all about training and having the appropriate personnel in there. But that is not something that we would ever want to have the detention center at this point. The liability and the change in the accreditation process, we're very sensitive to that in our policies. Just the way that the detention center has been accredited to this point.
And I would assume any type of high risk detainee that needs transported probably wouldn't go through the detention center anyway. Is that correct?
At this point, the detention center has just had to pull people from their staffing that are, overtime at this point to be able to move those. And you saw those numbers. They've transported as many or more actually than the sheriff's office when y'all requested those statistics. So those are all parts where they work together. But typically, our detention center staff has the highest training. They're trained specifically on transport, de-escalation, all of the things that they would need to have during that process.
Mr. Chair, my concern with this, because I just didn't even realize that there are transport officers anywhere that didn't carry a firearm. But I mean, just like what happened at the fairgrounds, when they were out there with detainees and didn't expect to get hit over the head. I mean, to me, that kind of seems like a liability on that portion as well, being around without a firearm too. Well, I realize that, but I mean, it was still a person, it was still someone that was tending to the detainees.
Mr. Chairman, Ms. Hamilton, refresh my mind again on the organizational chart and the frozen position here that does the sheriff's department already have one transport and they're wanting two? Is that correct?
They have 3 and 1 was frozen. So there's 2 that are there, 1 vacant, and that 1 is.
And they're one's vacated, so we have one transport officer with the sheriff's department. And we have.
Sheriff has 2 transport officers.
At the moment, we have 1 employed. We have 2 transport officers employed. And on the organizational chart, what was the change on that? Just to add the 3rd position?
That was just part of the discussion when y'all initially wanted to look, as this was brought forward by Sheriff Parker and the organizational chart. So all of that was shared so that y'all would see the history of when the organizational charts were adapted and everything. So on the organizational chart, they had 3 of the transport positions. 2 of them are currently filled. 1 has been frozen for the last 6 to 8 weeks, roughly, somewhere around in there during this time where we were trying to assess the revenues.
And how many positions does the sheriff office have frozen at the moment? Just the 1?
Correct. We have always had the safety sensitive open. So for the deputies, we have left that open. I know Ms. Olds with HR has done
just
an
the 1
amazing
position
job.
is the only one that's frozen there.
Right. There's 2 that they're currently operating or interviewing for the deputy. And she has secured over 43 applications just in one weekend alone with creative advertising. Not all of those obviously were,
This might be
qualified.
a silly question, but do you have any idea how many transports the sheriff's office does in a weekly?
No, that was not a number that they were able to provide. And what we did provide y'all with was the number of transports from the detention center. We did not have the number of transports that the sheriff's office provided with the 2 that they currently have.
Thank you.
Okay, is there any other discussion or anything else we need to do with this? It sounds like from the administrative position, through discussion, some positions are unfrozen and ready to go, just depending on the need of that. Is there any other discussion or anything on this item? No? All right. Then we will move on to agenda item 8A, which we
Mr.
do
Chairman?
need to table.
Mr. Chairman, the moment, the replat of the Carolina Estates needs to be tabled. It's not all finished. So I'll make the motion, we table the approval for the replat of the Carolina Estates.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to table item 8A because it is not quite ready. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, item 9A. Item 9, resolutions, proclamations, and ordinances. 9A, consideration of resolution 2020-32, revising the Roosevelt County Vehicle Accident Prevention Program policy. Ms. Olds. Any questions? All right, I don't see any. Do I hear a motion to approve resolution 2020-32, revising the Roosevelt County Vehicle Accident Prevention Program policy?
So moved.
Uh,
Second it.
All right, we have a motion from Commissioner Lopez, a second from Commissioner Dixon. Commissioner Greider, how do you vote? Commissioner Dixon?
Yes.
Yes. Commissioner
Yes.
Lee?
Yes.
All right, 5 yes votes for resolution 2020-32. Moving on to item 9B, consideration of resolution 2020-33, revising the Roosevelt County Loss Prevention Policy. Ms. Olds.
Thank you, sir. I sent this loss prevention policy to New Mexico counties, and Bonnie Cummings was so kind to review it, and she sent back many revisions. So we discussed this within our loss prevention committee, and we revised the policy to include all of her many revisions. A lot of them are not something that we deal with at this time, but for example, a lift. If somebody brings a lift, they have to follow our policies on how to do it. So we wanted to include it so we're covered. We have covered all of our bases. I recommend and respectfully ask for you to approve this resolution.
Mr. Chairman, make a motion to approve resolution 2020-33.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve resolution 2020-33, revising the Roosevelt County Loss Prevention Policy. Commissioner Lopez?
Yes.
Commissioner Lee? Yes. Commissioner
Yes.
Dixon? Commissioner Greider? 5 yes votes. Thank you, Ms. Olds. Moving on to item 9C, consideration of proclamation designating December as Drunk and Drugged Driving Prevention Month. Ms. Hamilton.
Yes, so I was contacted by Darla Reed with the Portales Roosevelt County DWI program, and she did ask that we consider partnering with Roosevelt, Curry, and DeBaca, all three counties, partnering to coordinate activities. Of course, she expressed her appreciation to the Board of Commissioners, officials, and employees, county members to accept the proclamation and help us to share the prevention. And of course, we will need to read the proclamation out loud. Would you like to do that, or would you like for me to?
Go ahead.
Okay.
You have it.
Proclamation Drunk and Drugged Driving Prevention Month, December 1st, 2020 through December 31st, 2020. Whereas Roosevelt County officials value the health and safety of all of our citizens, and whereas local leaders in government and in the community know that the support of the citizens in our communities is the most effective tool they can have in their efforts to reduce the use of alcohol and other drugs by New Mexicans. And whereas Roosevelt County is joining the listed New Mexico DWI coordinator affiliates to support their efforts to reduce DWI crashes, DWI fatalities, and the use of alcohol by residents throughout the state. And whereas the New Mexico DWI coordinators affiliate represents 33 counties with the common goal of reducing the incidence of DWI, alcoholism, alcohol abuse, drug addiction, and drug abuse, and preventing or reducing the incidence of domestic abuse related to the use or abuse of alcohol. And whereas the New Mexico DWI coordinators in the 33 counties provide services under local DWI programs that complete compliance monitoring tracking for over 11,691 offenders, ensuring that these offenders are in compliance with court-ordered requirements. And whereas these programs throughout the state also provided more than 22,253 hours and 11,318 sessions of treatment in 2020, with over 9,266 clients receiving detoxification services. And whereas K through 12th grade throughout the state also received prevention education activities through these programs, and whereas alcohol-involved fatalities have decreased even through alcohol-involved crashes in New Mexico, and they have decreased from 2019. And whereas the reduction in alcohol-involved vehicle crash fatalities and serious alcohol-involved vehicle crash injuries is due in part to the dedicated work of the local DWI program. And whereas the purpose of Drunk and Drugged Driving Prevention Month is to raise awareness in DWI around DWI, alcoholism, alcohol abuse, drug addiction, and drug abuse, and the efforts of the DWI affiliates and the local DWI programs. And whereas Drunk and Drugged Driving Prevention Month will be celebrated in Curry, DeBaca, and Roosevelt counties in New Mexico during December 1st through 31st of 2020. And now, therefore, be it proclaimed that this governing body, Roosevelt County Board of Commissioners, does hereby designate December 2020 as Drugged and Drunk Driving Prevention Month. The Board of Commissioners urges all citizens, parents, governmental agencies, public and private institutions, businesses, hospitals, schools, and colleges in Roosevelt County to support efforts that will increase community awareness, understanding, and action to address DWI in our community.
All right.
Well done. That was well
There you
done.
go.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second in approval of the proclamation so perfectly read by Ms. Hamilton, designating December as Drunk and Drug Driving Prevention Month. Commissioner Greider, how do you vote?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
5 yes votes. All right, moving on. We need to enter into a public hearing.
Move to go into public hearing. Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to go into public hearing regarding ordinance 2020-02, authorizing Roosevelt County to enter into a loan agreement with the New Mexico Environment Department for a stormwater mitigation project. Commissioner Lopez?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, we are in public hearing. Ms. Hamilton, were there any public comments that you are aware of from anyone on the ordinance 2020-02? All right. Anybody here want to speak as a citizen of Roosevelt County? All right, seeing none, I will make a motion to come out of public hearing regarding ordinance 2020-02.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, so now on to item 9D, consideration of said ordinance 2020-02, authorizing Roosevelt County to enter into a loan agreement with the New Mexico Environment Department for a stormwater mitigation project. Ms. Hamilton.
Yes, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. So just again to clarify what we were looking at, the total project estimated was $625,000. The loan would be at 0.5% of interest on the $325,000 with a subsidy funding grant of $300,000. When we look at what we would be paying, the annual payment is $17,116.60. We would be able to actually, with the adoption of this ordinance, due to the GRT increase that we've seen, what I would recommend is setting up a fund and being able to have that money there to service that debt as it is now. There is no penalty for early payoff, and they are very much looking forward to working with us. We did draft the ordinance. Mr. Knudsen did, or rather the state drafted it and provided the boilerplate. Mr. Knudsen reviewed it, as did I. Made a few modifications to make it fit. Y'all saw that included in your packet. Other than that, I would stand for any questions.
Ms. Hamilton, will this total amount finish the project completely through?
This is going to handle the stormwater mitigation project for the fairgrounds. It will not address the specific ADA desires that we had initially laid out with the community development block grant. It will just address the water, but yes, it will mitigate and resolve the water issue, which is the pressing issue that we're dealing with, which will also alleviate the water issue for Hampton Farms, which was the focus. So
I know
it takes that burden off the city and the Hampton Farms.
with the loan and the funding, it will finish the ADA and watershed project, just the watershed project.
Just the stormwater
With the
mitigation
pits
project.
and
Stormwater only. Yes, sir.
Mr.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move to approve ordinance 2020-02 as presented.
Commissioner Greider, did you have a comment or were you going to make a motion?
No, I will make a motion to approve the ordinance.
All right. So do you make the second? All right, we have a motion and a second to approve ordinance 2020-02. Commissioner Lopez? Commissioner Lee?
Yes.
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 Commissioner Dixon, Commissioner Greider. All right, 5 yes votes. Moving on to agenda item 10, contracts, agreements, procurements. Item A, request for ratification of 12 Roosevelt County Small Business Grant Awards in the total amount of $118,790.55. Ms. Hamilton. Is your microphone on? Thank you.
Oh, Randy has it printed out. I can read those off if you would like. Sorry. I'm like, mine isn't in here. Okay, so we have El Rancho for $10,000, the brewery for $10,000, Seaver Sports Medicine for $10,000, La Casa del Pan Bakery for $10,000, Subway, the Randall Corp for $10,000, Times Remembered Photography for $10,000, Courthouse Cafe for $10,000, Village Pharmacy for $10,000, The Happy Place for $10,000, Sweetwater Landell for $10,000, Life Choice Pregnancy Resource Center for $10,000, and Reflection Hair Salon for $8,790.55. I cannot express to you just how hard Ms. Flores has been working on this project. It is a very cumbersome project to get all of these documents, to get everything in, to make sure all of the T's are crossed and I's are dotted for the federal program as well as the state. So we were very thrilled to be able to get this submitted for reimbursement from the state. So once we receive the allocations from the state, then we'll be able to issue these checks to those businesses. And again, as I shared earlier, we have about 60,000 remaining, and we have, I believe, 4 applications in the queue as of now. So we're getting very close to having our money allocated.
All right. And any questions? That is.
I've got a question, Mr. Chairman, because I saw what went on in Clovis and Curry. I mean, yeah, what's going on there with their application process. So we had a cap of 10,000 per business, right? We had a cap.
Oh, yes, we established a cap
So that was
early
the
on
best
before we
thing we
ever.
could have done then to avoid what's occurred at our neighboring county. And just out of curiosity, what is the La Casa del Bakery? Where is that at?
It's right across, it's diagonal or adjacent to Subway and something different
old
right
bus
there on the
stop.
corner where the
Okay.
old bus station
Okay, I was
used
just
to be.
curious. I've never been there. I'm gonna have to check it out.
I had a question. How many applicants did we have for this and how were they chosen?
At this point, as we get applications in and work through them, at this point, we've only had one that has been denied. And we've only had one application at this point that has been denied. And that was due to the lack of ability to corroborate the application that they submitted in the documentation. So Ms. Flores works through each one of those. There are several that are still pending. So at this point, I don't have an exact number because we received another one today. I can just tell you that we've approved 17 and we worked 18 to get those 17 approved. So we had a really high approval rate on that one.
That's what I was wondering. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the ratification of the 12 Roosevelt County Small Business Grant Awards in the amount of $118,790.55.
All right. We have a motion and a second to ratify the small business grants. Commissioner Greider, Commissioner Dixon, yes?
Yes.
5 yes votes. All right. Agenda item 11, media communication. They get the video and then reach out to Ms. Hamilton if there's any questions. So we will adjourn with a short recess and reconvene for a road planning workshop. And I promised Commissioner Lopez I would fight hard for all the roads in his district because he's going to get out of here. So we will adjourn.
Tina, I've got your jerky. You have it in here? Yeah, I brought it fresh.